The storm began before the search did. Sheets of rain fell across Glacier Valley, turning the mountain roads into dark ribbons of mud. The sheriff's SUV crawled forward through fog that moved like smoke, headlights barely touching the outlines of trees. It was June 14, 2009, the day 17-year-old Lila Archer disappeared during a weekend hike with her photography club. The group said she'd wandered off the trail for a better view of the ridgeline. They heard her camera shutter twice, then nothing. No scream, no sound of slipping rock. When they realized she was gone, the valley had already filled with mist thick enough to erase the horizon. Deputies combed the area for 3 days. They found her backpack near a stream, unzipped, contents scattered, lens caps, a half-eaten sandwich, a small tin of watercolor paints she'd carried everywhere since middle school. Her camera was missing. So were her hiking boots. The ground showed no footprints, just soil packed down by rain. It was as if she'd simply stepped out of the world. Sheriff Raymond Holt told reporters, "We've checked every trail, every drop-off, every cave. It's like she vanished into the mountain itself." The phrase became local legend, repeated by teenagers on camping trips, turned into internet ghost stories. But for the Archer family, it was a sentence that never stopped echoing. For 14 years, the case remained open in name only. Every anniversary brought another news segment. Missing teen, no new leads. Lila's mother, Diane, moved twice. First to the city for work, then to a quiet house near the coast where she could see the water and pretend it was peaceful. She never changed her phone number. "I don't want to miss the call," she told a reporter once, "if it ever comes." That call arrived on an ordinary Tuesday morning in June 2023. At 9:47 a.m., the county's emergency dispatch logged a GPS ping from a device registered to L. Archer 2009 CAM. The coordinates placed it deep inside Glacier Valley, in a region closed to hikers for years due to landslide risk. The signal wasn't continuous. It pulsed in short bursts, 3 seconds on, 2 seconds off, like someone pressing a button. Detective Victor Grayson took the call in his office, still learning the names in the file he'd inherited 3 months earlier. He'd grown up 2 valleys over. When he was 12, his cousin Emma had disappeared during a school field trip. Never found, case never solved. He'd become a detective because of that hole in his family's story, the questions that outlived the people who'd asked them. When the Lila Archer file landed on his desk, he saw Emma's name in every line. He drove to the coordinates alone, climbing through mist and mud for half a mile. The forest pressed close, branches scraping his jacket. His radio crackled with static that sounded almost rhythmic, like Morse code he couldn't quite decode. Near the ridge, he found a narrow gap in the rock face, barely wide enough to crawl through, leading into what looked like a collapsed mining tunnel from the valley's old quarry days. Inside, it smelled of rust and wet earth. When he turned his flashlight toward the ground, the beam struck metal. A camera, half buried in silt, its casing dented but intact. The logo matched Lila's missing equipment list. The power indicator blinked weakly. On, off, on, off. The forensic team recovered it that afternoon. The memory card was intact. They extracted 67 photographs. Most were ordinary. Wildflowers, trail markers, her friends posing on rocks. But the last 5 were different. Image 63. The mouth of the tunnel, taken from inside. Daylight visible beyond. Image 64. A dark stone wall, out of focus, as if the camera had been dropped. Image 65. A hiking boot. Her boot, based on the pink laces her mother had mentioned, lying on its side near the tunnel wall. Image 66. A figure standing approximately 10 feet behind where the camera must have been positioned. The image was slightly blurred, but the figure wore dark clothing and appeared to be holding something cylindrical. A flashlight, possibly. Or a tool. Image 67. Complete darkness. But when the lab processed it under different light spectrums, faint scratches appeared on the camera's casing, etched in haste. Help. Grayson sat with those images for 3 hours, studying the metadata. The final photograph was time-stamped June 14, 2009, 6:23 p.m., roughly 5 hours after Lila's group reported her missing. The camera's internal clock confirmed it had been powered down shortly after and hadn't been activated again until 48 hours before Grayson found it. Someone had turned it on, recently. He drove to Diane Archer's house that evening to deliver the news in person. She stood in the doorway, hand gripping the frame, and listened without interrupting. When he finished, she asked a single question. Was she alone?
If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these mysteries. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new case. I post thrilling, mystery-filled true crime stories every day. And let me know in the comments what you think really happened, or which case you want to see next. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.
She stood in the doorway, hand gripping the frame, and listened without interrupting. When he finished, she asked a single question. Was she alone? We don't know yet. But you think she wasn't? No, ma'am. I don't think she was. Diane's jaw tightened. She didn't cry. She thanked him and closed the door before he could say anything else. Through the window, he watched her sink into a chair and cover her face with both hands. He gave her 5 minutes, then knocked again. This time, she opened with red eyes and a steadier voice. Find who did this, she said. I don't care how long it takes. Grayson reopened the investigation formally the next morning. He started with the 2009 search records. 5 rangers had been on duty that weekend. 4 had logged consistent coordinates for their search routes. The 5th, Thomas Laird, now 56 and retired, had filed a map that showed him covering the eastern ridgeline. But 2 volunteers remembered him searching the western slope instead, near the old mining sites. Grayson found Laird living in a cabin 15 miles outside town. When he arrived, Laird was splitting wood in the yard, his hands wrapped in work gloves. He set the axe down slowly when he saw the badge. Detective Grayson, I'm following up on the Lila Archer case. You were one of the responding rangers in 2009. Laird wiped his forehead. I remember. Terrible thing. Never found her. Can you walk me through your search route that day? Laird nodded and described the eastern ridgeline in detail. The trails, the drop-offs, the time he'd spent checking each area. His voice was steady, his details specific. Too specific. Grayson pulled out a map. Can you mark where you searched? Laird traced a route along the eastern ridge without hesitation. Grayson waited, then slid a second document across the table, a copy of Laird's original 2009 report. The route didn't match. Laird stared at the papers. His hands, which had been steady a moment before, began to tremble slightly. I must have written it wrong, he said quietly. It was a long time ago. Your hands are shaking, Mr. Laird. I'm tired. Were you near the old mining tunnels that day? Laird's jaw worked silently for a moment. I checked them. Found nothing. Did you know about the tunnel where we found the camera? There are a lot of tunnels up there. Grayson leaned forward. The camera's last photo was taken at 6:23 p.m. Your patrol log says you radioed base at 6:15, reporting you were heading back to the station. But the photo shows someone in that tunnel with her. Someone holding a light. Laird's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. You wear a brass ring. Ranger's insignia, right? Grayson nodded at Laird's left hand. We found marks on the camera casing consistent with that kind of ring-striking metal, like someone grabbed it, maybe tried to turn it off. Laird stood abruptly. I think I need a lawyer. That's your right. Grayson stood too, watching him carefully. But I'm going to get a warrant for this property, Mr. Laird. And if there's anything here you want to tell me about before I find it myself, now would be the time. Laird said nothing. His hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. The warrant came through the next day. Inside Laird's cabin, in a metal box hidden beneath a loose floorboard, officers found a collection of items: a compass, a hunting knife, several rolls of undeveloped film, and a small notebook. The notebook's early pages contained field observations, weather patterns, wildlife sightings, trail conditions. But the later entries grew erratic. Lists of dates, sketches of the valley, coordinates that match the tunnel site, and on the final page, a single word written over and over in increasingly shaky handwriting. Sorry, 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 sorry. The film canisters were sent to a lab. 4 images came back clear. The first 2 showed Glacier Valley from the ridge, taken in late afternoon light. The third showed the entrance to a mining tunnel, identical to the one where Grayson had found Lila's camera. The fourth was a close-up of a camera, the same make and model as Lila's, sitting on a rock. Laird was brought in for a second interview. He sat across from Grayson in the interrogation room, hands folded on the table, and said nothing for 11 minutes. The recording captured every second of silence. Finally, he spoke. I didn't hurt her. Then tell me what happened. I found her. His voice cracked. I found her in the tunnel.
If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these mysteries. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new case. I post thrilling, mystery-filled true crime stories every day. And let me know in the comments what you think really happened, or which case you want to see next. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.
Laird was brought in for a second interview. He sat across from Grayson in the interrogation room, hands folded on the table, and said nothing for 11 minutes. The recording captured every second of silence. Finally, he spoke. I didn't hurt her. Then tell me what happened. I found her. His voice cracked. I found her in the tunnel. She was already dead when I got there. How did she die? I don't know. She was just lying there. Head injury, looked like she'd fallen. I panicked. He pressed his palms against his eyes. I should have called it in. I should have radioed immediately, but I panicked. And then I thought, what if they don't believe me? What if they think I did it? So I moved her. I buried her where no one would find her, and I told myself she'd just wandered off, gotten lost, and I'd checked and found nothing. Why did you take her camera? I didn't mean to. It was in my hand when I found her. I must have picked it up without thinking, and then later I realized I still had it, and if I turned it in, they'd ask questions, so I kept it. I hid it in the tunnel. I thought, I don't know what I thought. That eventually I'd go back and put it with her, maybe? Or that I'd just leave it there forever. Why did you turn it on 2 weeks ago? Laird looked up, confused. What? Someone powered that camera on 2 weeks ago. The GPS signal is what led us to it. That wasn't me. I haven't been back to that tunnel in years. Grayson studied his face. Laird looked genuinely baffled. If it wasn't you, then who? I don't know. You said she was already dead when you found her, but her last photos show someone in the tunnel with her while she was still alive. Someone with a light. If that wasn't you, who was it? Laird's face drained of color. I don't know. You're lying. I'm not. Laird's voice broke. I swear I found her dead. But there were boot prints, not hers. Not mine. Someone else had been there. I saw them in the mud near her body, and He stopped, breathing hard. I thought if I reported it, if I told anyone, they'd think it was me. So I cleaned the scene. I buried her. I tried to erase it all. Where is she buried? Laird closed his eyes. After a long moment, he gave coordinates to a cliffside overlooking the river. There's a flat boulder split down the center. She's under it. Who else was in that tunnel with her, Thomas? I don't know. You're protecting someone. I don't know who it was. I swear to God, I don't know. Grayson leaned back, watching the man across from him, pale, shaking, trapped between confession and concealment. You'll be charged as an accessory at minimum, tampering with evidence, obstruction of justice. If the DA thinks you're lying about the rest, it'll be murder. Laird nodded slowly, as if he'd expected this for 14 years. He was held pending charges. That night, a guard found him unresponsive in his cell. The medical examiner ruled it suicide, self-inflicted asphyxiation using a torn bedsheet. In his pocket was a folded note with a single line. I should have saved her. I'm sorry. Search teams located the burial site the next day. Beneath the split boulder, they found skeletal remains, fragments of fabric, and a necklace chain with a small silver pendant. A camera charm Lila Archer confirmed Lila had worn every day. DNA testing confirmed the identity. But the forensic report raised new questions. The bones showed signs of disturbance, evidence that the grave had been opened and resealed at least twice over the years. Soil analysis confirmed multiple layers of displacement. Someone had returned to the site repeatedly. Grayson sat in his office, staring at the photographs again. Image 66, the figure in the tunnel. He'd had the lab enhance it as much as possible. The figure's height and build didn't match Laird. The clothing was wrong too. Laird had been wearing his ranger uniform that day, visible in checkpoint photos. This person wore civilian clothes, a dark jacket, jeans. In the reflection on the wet tunnel wall, just barely visible, was a second light source. Not Lila's camera flash, not Laird's flashlight. A third light, smaller, and positioned at a different angle. A headlamp, maybe, or a phone screen. Grayson went back through the 2009 files, looking for anyone else who'd been near the valley that day. Hikers checked in at the ranger station were accounted for. Locals interviewed had alibis. But one name kept appearing in the marginal notes. Jay Holt, sheriff's son, volunteer searcher. James Holt, 19 in 2009. Son of Sheriff Raymond Holt, who'd led the original investigation. James had joined the search party as a volunteer the evening Lila disappeared. His name appeared on sign-in sheets, but his specific search route was never logged. He'd been helping his father coordinate, according to the notes. Grayson pulled James Holt's current information. He lived 2 towns over, worked in construction, married with 2 kids. Clean record. Nothing suspicious. But when Grayson called to request an interview, the phone number was disconnected. The address led to a rental property vacated 3 months earlier, right around the time Grayson had inherited the case and started reviewing old files.
If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these mysteries. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new case. I post thrilling, mystery-filled true crime stories every day. And let me know in the comments what you think really happened, or which case you want to see next. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.
Grayson pulled James Holt's current information. He lived 2 towns over, worked in construction, married with 2 kids. Clean record. Nothing suspicious. But when Grayson called to request an interview, the phone number was disconnected. The address led to a rental property vacated 3 months earlier, right around the time Grayson had inherited the case and started reviewing old files. He filed a request to trace James Holt's recent activity. Credit card records showed normal purchases until May, then stopped. No bank withdrawals, no phone use. Either Holt had switched to cash-only living or he'd disappeared. Grayson drove to the last known address and spoke with the landlord. Quiet guy, the landlord said. Paid on time, kept to himself. Then one day he came by, said he was leaving for work out of state, gave notice. That was it. Did he leave a forwarding address? Nope. Left most of his furniture. Took his clothes and some boxes, that's all. Did he seem nervous? Worried about anything? The landlord thought about it. Now that you mention it, yeah. He asked if anyone had come by asking about him. I said no. He looked relieved, I guess. Like he'd been expecting trouble. Grayson requested a warrant to search the property. In the crawl space beneath the house, investigators found a cardboard box containing old hiking gear, a rain jacket with the Glacier Valley Volunteer Search logo, and a small digital camera. The camera's memory card held dozens of photos from 2009, trail shots, search party members, and 3 images that stopped Grayson cold. The first showed Lila Archer on the trail, unaware she was being photographed, adjusting her camera strap. The second showed the tunnel entrance at dusk. The third was blurred, dark, but appeared to show the interior of the tunnel. And in the lower corner, just barely visible, a figure lying on the ground. The timestamp on the third photo read June 14th, 2009, 6:34 p.m. 11 minutes after Lila's final photograph. Grayson sat in the evidence room piecing it together. James Holt had been in the valley that day, possibly following Lila. He'd been in the tunnel after she'd taken her last photos. Laird had found her dead shortly after, but he'd also seen boot prints that weren't his. James Holt's prints. The question was, had Holt killed her, or had she already been dead when he arrived? And more pressing, where was James Holt now? 2 weeks later, Diane Archer received a package.
If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these mysteries. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new case. I post thrilling, mystery-filled true crime stories every day. And let me know in the comments what you think really happened, or which case you want to see next. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.
No return address, postmarked from a town 60 miles north. Inside was a photograph printed on plain paper, the mouth of the mining tunnel, taken in clear daylight. Recent, based on the vegetation. In the lower corner, someone had written in pencil, "I was there. I'm sorry, it was an accident." Diane brought it to Grayson immediately. What does this mean? It means James Holt is still out there, and he's trying to confess without turning himself in. Do you think he killed her? Grayson looked at the photograph, at the shaky handwriting. I think he saw something that night. Maybe he followed her into the tunnel. Maybe they argued, and she fell. Maybe he panicked and ran, and Laird found her after. Or maybe he trailed off. Maybe what? Maybe he's been living with this for 14 years and he can't carry it anymore. Diane's hands trembled as she held the photo. Will you find him? I'm trying. Try harder. Her voice hardened. My daughter is dead. I need to know why. Grayson put out a bolo for James Holt. Regional police were notified. His photo circulated through law enforcement channels. But days passed without leads. Either Holt had gone deep into hiding, or he'd done something more permanent. 3 months later, a hiker in the Cascade Range found a wallet at the base of a cliff. ID inside belonged to James Holt. Search and rescue recovered remains at the bottom of the ravine. Cause of death, fall from height, likely intentional based on the location and lack of safety gear. Estimated time of death, approximately 2 months prior. In his truck, parked at a nearby trailhead, investigators found a handwritten letter. It was 12 pages long, addressed to Diane Archer. Grayson read it first, then delivered it to her himself. The letter laid out the truth in James's own words. I followed Lila that day. Not because I wanted to hurt her. I swear I didn't. I'd seen her around town, thought she was pretty, thought maybe if I could talk to her away from her friends, I'd have a chance. I know how that sounds now. Creepy, obsessive. It was. I saw her go into the tunnel. I followed. I called out to her, said I just wanted to talk. She got scared. She backed up, tripped on loose rock, hit her head on the tunnel wall. I tried to help her, but she wasn't moving. I checked for a pulse. There wasn't one. I panicked. I was 19, stupid, terrified. My dad was the sheriff. Everyone would think I'd killed her on purpose. So I ran. I left her there. I hiked out the back way and joined the search party like nothing had happened. I didn't know Laird found her until years later, when I overheard him talking drunk at a bar saying he'd done something unforgivable during that search. I put it together. He'd buried her. And I let him because it meant no one would ever know I was there. I've lived with this every day. I got married, had kids, tried to build a normal life. But I kept thinking about her mother, about what she must feel not knowing. When I heard the case was being reopened, I knew I had to do something. I went back to the tunnel. I found Lila's camera where Laird must have left it. I turned it on, hoping someone would find it and finally bring her home. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't fix what I did, but at least now you know the truth. James Holt. Diane read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and set it on the table. She didn't cry. She sat quietly for a long time, staring at nothing. Finally, she looked at Grayson. It was an accident. Yes, ma'am. And he spent 14 years running from it. Yes. 2 men are dead because of one moment, one mistake. She closed her eyes. And my daughter is still gone. I'm sorry. I wish I had better answers. Diane stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the ocean. Do you have children, detective? No, ma'am. Then you can't understand. But thank you for finding the truth, even if it doesn't bring her back. Grayson closed the case officially 3 months later. The final report listed Lila Archer's death as accidental, with James Holt and Thomas Laird listed as parties who interfered with the investigation and concealed evidence. Both deceased. Diane Archer received the camera, the photographs, and the letter. She kept the camera in a drawer and never looked at the photos again. But she framed one picture, a shot Lila had taken on the trail that morning, before everything went wrong. Wildflowers against a gray sky. It hung in Diane's living room for the rest of her life, a reminder that her daughter had been there, had seen beauty, had lived fully, even if briefly. Grayson closed his folder. Class dismissed. He walked to his car slowly, feeling older than his years. The valley was 4 hours away, but some nights he still dreamed about it. The mist, the tunnel, the camera blinking in the dark. In the dreams, he was always too late. Always arriving just after the moment when everything could have been different. He thought about his cousin Emma sometimes, the one who'd never been found. He thought about all the families waiting for calls that would never come. He thought about the ones who got their answers and wished they hadn't. And he thought about Lila Archer, 17 and alive on a hiking trail, lifting her camera to catch the light through the trees, unaware that in minutes her life would be over and the ripples of that moment would destroy 2 more lives before the truth could surface. Sometimes accidents are just accidents. Sometimes fear makes monsters of ordinary people. And sometimes the only closure you get is knowing that the dead at least can rest. The living have to carry it forward. Grayson drove home as the sun set over the water, and he didn't look back at the mountains.
If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these mysteries. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new case. I post thrilling, mystery-filled true crime stories every day. And let me know in the comments what you think really happened, or which case you want to see next. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.